Hey y'all, Birdie Chesson here. I am the author of Thinking with Your Pussy, the guide to making good pussy decisions, and the notorious quiz at makegoodpussydecisions.com. Welcome to the Lost Tapes, where it's all about you. Thank you for listening. So, again, you know the project. Um, why do you love the way that you love?
Okay.
What changed everything for you? If there's an isolated actual incident that was the catalyst, how did you meet? And tell me the course of your relationship. If the relationship ended, how? If you're still together, how did it make you better? What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about love? If you could do it again, what would you do differently? So those were the actual questions, but I would like to tackle first. Did you take the quiz again?
I have not taken it in the last month or two, but I had taken it prior to the month or two, and I was kind of still at the same space. So if you want to, I don't have a problem with taking it again to see if it changed.
Well, all right. Okay. So the only reason why I'm going to stop you is because being that you had the result of pussy dominance and the way that you've been consistently moving in your relationships, I think that maybe that's a good place to start. And then after this project, take it again, just so that you know if you've shifted in any way. Does that make sense? Okay. So, why do you love the way that you love? Is that loaded, or do you want to break it down a little bit?
It is a loaded question. And I will say, I want to speak on that. It's a great question. It is loaded because my mind explodes into all these different ways that I could answer that. And I understand that I'm supposed to channel that energy into a space that is about the most impactful relationship that I've had. And so for me, the issue was I've had one or two that were very impactful, but I have to say that honestly, I arrived where I am and how I love because of all of them. Because none of them have been healthy. Right? So I've never had a healthy, intimate relationship with a man, which is my choice. That's my sexual preference, right? So, and I say that because when you ask that question, I had to really think about it. And I had to actually say to myself, I know what the most impactful ones were, and they were the ones that were the longest, not even the long. So my son, the relationship, thank you. The relationship that I had, thank you very much, with my son's father was definitely the most toxic. It defined how I grew as a woman. It also led me to be the person that existed in each one of the following relationships, right? So I had to talk myself through that in order to feel comfortable about answering it. Because for me, it's easy to say, let me wrap all these ninjas into one. Because I really have been dating the same man over and over again. Their name changed. I think that I might have gotten a little bit better on every relationship. I changed something very significant about what I was willing about a boundary, right? So I started with none. And then as I grew, I had more boundaries, right? So I talked all the way through that. And I think that's kind of important for women to understand, because a lot of us have dated the same dude over and over and over again. He just had a different name. He may have a different body type. You know, and you know, there might have been some other things about his avatar that changed, but essentially the character base has been the same, right? All right, so with that being said, I will share that why I love the way I love, or the lack thereof, was my relationship with my son's father. And that was years ago. So I want to make sure that people understand that I've not been with my son's father since 2097. 2097. Clearly, I'm sorry, not 2097. Oh my goodness, 1997. That we in the 2000s, you can't help it. So 1997 was really the last time that we were really together. But it was the most tumultuous 6 years of my life. It changed how I felt about myself as a person. It changed how I felt about myself as a woman. I never had a lot of self-esteem in the first place, but whatever was supposed to be there, he killed it, or I allowed it to die. And I'm taking a moment because it's painful. Like, it's painful to relive the thing that tore you apart, the thing that made you cynical, the thing that was so toxic that it made you hate yourself. So at first I thought I hated him, but I didn't. I left that relationship hating myself. I left that relationship hating the fact that I wasn't, in my mind at the time, smart enough to pick a better mate. I wasn't smart enough to pick a better father for my child. I wasn't smart enough to know that that relationship wasn't healthy for me, and it was damaging me in more ways than I could ever imagine. And consequently, it was damaging all the other men that were going to come along afterward, because I treated them according to my lack of boundaries with him, with Taylor's father, right? And I also treated people according to that benchmark. So the benchmark is, he was a cheater, he was an abuser, he was not fiscally responsible, he was traumatized and damaged, and he was not a good father. And I literally walked out of that relationship feeling so inadequate that really, after that, I saw men as a tool, right? For at that. So after him, men were good. You have a penis, and that's what you're good for, right? We'll connect when we connect, but I don't want to have a deep connection, because having a deep connection is going to hurt. And so, you know, and I don't mind putting it out there, but, you know, like my situation is that he ended up being with a person I thought to be my friend, and come to find out she wasn't. Like, I really believe she was never my friend. I believe that he introduced her to me for her to babysit our son, knowing that he had been engaging with her in that way. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm speculating over years how it turned out. But I can tell you that for a very, very long time, I was sad. I was bitter. I was angry. I didn't trust men. I didn't trust people. Right. So for a very long time, I did not love. I existed. I interacted with people. Now, I don't want to say that I'm still there, because it took a lot of growing, right? So we have to look at that from a perspective of, that is almost 20 years ago. It's taken a very long time for me to grow to a different person. So hopefully I answered the question.
You definitely did. You definitely did. And I muted myself because I didn't want to even interrupt you, because that was something that you really needed to get off your chest in the most authentic way you possibly could have vocalized it. So
I've gotten it off my chest before, but I don't know if I've elaborated on it with that kind of eloquence. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah, it takes a lot of control. It takes a lot of control because right now with the eloquence, it was like the way that you are able to convey that takes a lot of thought. It takes a lot of feeling, and for you to be able to channel it in a way that you can actually sort through your emotions and be able to put it in a way where you're like, you know what? I can actually put it into an actual box right now. And and package it as it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and that takes strength. That takes a lot of introspection. And I'm gonna applaud you. I gotta applaud you.
Oh, thank you.
I have to. Yes, I have to. So, what did you learn about yourself after the fact? Like, okay, now that you were able, you are able, not were, are able to reflect and put it in that way so eloquently and able to put it in the box that says it is what it is. What can you say about yourself now that you've learned about yourself? If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yes. So, what did I learn about myself as a result of that relationship that defined how I love? I learned that I am stronger than what I ever imagined myself to be.
Yes.
Because in those moments, I felt incredibly weak. What I will share with you is to be a woman and break down, be vulnerable, be weak, and put yourself back together again. And overcome the embarrassment, the shame, the humiliation, the people that tell you, I told you so. We told you he wasn't shit. The friends that knew how he was doing you, but didn't say nothing to you because they didn't want to be the one to tell you. Or the friends that pretended to be his friends or my friends, but they weren't either because they were participating in the bullshit. To have to see those people again in my life and feel how I felt and not wild out, not hurt nobody, not talk to nobody bad, to have an understanding of, ain't none of that gonna help. Like, you know, I had a time where the chick pulled up on me with her friends, and we supposed to be friends. But you came over for a night of us drinking, but you brought your girls with you because you knew you was doing wrong. And I learned in that moment that I could be strong. Like, I'm not finna fight with you, and I'm not finna fight with you over him. And one of the things I said to her, I had to tell her straight out, like, you think he's going to treat you differently. He's not. He's going to treat you the same. And I said, and I want you to know that I'm going to pray for you. Because I knew that she didn't have the kind of strength I had. She didn't have the strength to walk away. And I had the strength to walk away. Like, this is what I learned in my strength. Yes, Taylor, your son deserves a father. There's Tiffany, your son deserves a father. And at what cost? Right? So if the cost is him being a human being that I'm not proud of raising, and like I couldn't, like, that, we're not, what I decided was I'll take my chances being a single parent. And when I say single, I mean single. I mean, I'm not calling them people. I'm not putting you on child support, because what I don't want you in our lives. And I'm okay with that, because if you have tried to kill me, you've been that kind of toxic. If you've said things to me like, fuck you, I'll kill you and him, meaning the child, right? You not for us. You told us you not for us. And the strength in it for me is I could do this by myself. I don't need you financially. At the time, I wasn't even sure if my parents were going to help me because they really didn't like him. And I didn't really have a community because he had alienated me from most of my friends by either making a pass at them or being rude to them, you know, not wanting them in our space because he identified that they knew what was going on. So, you know, just lacing up my bootstraps, one, getting out of it, being like, so even the escape was something, right? The escape was literally, he went to prison and he needed me to get him out. And I said, no, I'm not going to get you out. And then I packed up all my stuff and moved to a place where he wouldn't find me, right? So I left while he was locked up because it was the easiest way for me to leave. Maybe it was a coward way, but I don't care. It was the strongest way. It was the way I could get out of it. And then I had it's 5:55. I know I shouldn't have recorded that, but numbers mean a lot to me. And so in this moment, while I'm moving in transparency, I'm having a clear understanding that me doing this and sharing this experience with you and other ladies is very important. So if you have to edit that, I get it. But what I do want to share is that loving yourself enough to be strong and to do the hard thing and to start over, and to be able to say, you know what, yes, this is really embarrassing. Yes, I'm ashamed of some of the things that I've done, but that's okay. I'm gonna be all right. I'm going to get through it. I'm going to nurture myself through it. I'm going to hug on myself. I'm going to love on myself. And I'm not going to lie to you. There's some things I've freaking avoided. And that's okay. Like sometimes to get through it, you got to put it in a space in your mind where you lock it away, because if you deal with it, you won't make it. And I'm not even ashamed to say that I had to check myself into a mental hospital. Like I had to go take a vacation, right? To go get myself together because I didn't feel like I could be healthy for Taylor at the time. And he was only like 2-3 years old at the time. And I needed a month. So I checked myself into like an intracare hospital so I could get some tools, right? As a Black woman, I needed to go get some mental health tools to handle what I had just been through, to handle that I was in an abusive relationship with a man that tried to kill himself and me multiple times, to handle how do I have this conversation with my son, who I don't even really think he liked his dad much, but, you know, he missed him nonetheless, right? And how do I explain to you that, you know, he's really not going to be around, and because I don't want him to be around and because it's not healthy for him to be around, right? That's a very difficult place for women to be. And I think that too often as women, we think that we have to stay because we owe a parent to our child, and you don't. You owe them safety. You owe them safety. If you did nothing else, you gave birth, you owe them safety. And if the other parent, whether it's the mother, the father, a grandparent, I don't give a crap who the guardian is, who the guide is, if they are not safe, and if they are causing an environment that is toxic and traumatic, the responsible party has a duty to keep their child or children safe. So, and that ain't easy. It's hard. It's hard to step into that space and do it by yourself. It takes strength. So if I had to tell you, the thing that I learned is I'm strong beyond measure, beyond what I even believed myself to be. And then there's a second thing that I learned about myself. I learned that I am just kind, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. People will make you feel like you a simp or you a sucker, or, you know, like I could give you all these words like a simp, a sucker, a trick, a mark. Like they give you all that, right? When you are the kind of woman that loves and wants to be helpful and you see potential in someone. And I've been that woman my whole life. For every person, not just men, for every person that has entered into my space. And it's painful when you realize that you are vibrating in a space where you're not getting it back. There is no reciprocity in the space for you, and it hurts, right? But I had to learn not to give up on my kindness. And my kindness doesn't make me weak. My kindness makes me human. My kindness makes me understand humanity. And it is one of the best pieces of me. At this age now, I have a clear understanding that no one can take that away from me. You can't take away that I know I'm kind. You can't take away that I love people. You can't take away that I'm a builder. I edify people. And I've had some situations that were not opportune, favorable, and or ideal. But I had to learn to forgive myself, keep moving. And I don't want to give that up. Like, I did lock that part of me up for a little bit. And there were pieces of me that snuck out in every relationship. But now I'm back to me. Like, I could give you all of that. I could give you the exact same kind of kindness and love and freeness that I gave in my 20s, because now I know me. And I know that it's up to me to set the boundaries, right? It's my job to set the boundaries. No one walks over you, you allow it. When you're in your 20s, you don't know how to not allow it, because most of us are not taught that. We don't get those tools. Like, our moms don't usually teach us those tools because they ain't got them. Our dads don't teach us our tools because men don't usually have to acquire that set of tools, right? No, society doesn't really say to them, you need to have this mental fortitude, right? I think men get a pass, and a lot of people won't agree with that, especially Black men. I think that Black men get a pass, that it is okay for them to be horrible fathers, have children all over the place, and then walk away from any responsibility that's not favorable for them. And I do understand why that happens. So I don't want to negate the fact that I understand that traditionally that is indoctrinated into us because of Willie Lynch, slavery, all the things that you can add in, right? At the same time, if as a woman, I have a clear understanding that doesn't have to be for me, doesn't have to be my story, doesn't have to be my legacy, and I don't desire that for my child. A man has the same duty. They can find themselves. They can decide, I'm going to be the best parent. It doesn't matter how I was parented. It doesn't matter how I was treated. I'm going to do better. And I'm going to make sure that I make it better for my children so that they can make it better for their children. So I walked away from it knowing that I was strong. And I walked away from it knowing that I am kind and I am vulnerable, and that is okay. And now I'm actually very proud of it because it's my superpower.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I think sometimes we hide behind the beautiful things that we end up doing for each other because there's a part of us that begin to martyr ourselves in order to hide behind that pain. And it's like, no. I'm giving you the best of me. And then after a while, it's like, what is left of me? Mm-hmm. So trust me, I get it. I do. I understand it completely. Because when does it stop being about everybody else and start being about you?
Right.
Because sometimes we go beyond that point and you're like thinking or feeling like there's nothing left for you. So this
often there wasn't. Between work, being a mother, dealing with that craziness, friends pulling me in a direction. I was also in school at the time. That was another thing. He made it very difficult for me to go to school on purpose. He was one of those people that would say, I'm not the babysitter. What you mean you're not the babysitter?
Ain't no babysitting your kids.
Yeah. But that's another talk. That's another highlight.
Yeah, trust and believe. I understand. I do understand. So what do you think? What did you learn about love? And I mean like now, Tiffany, now. What do you know about love now? Are you still martyring yourself? Or do you feel like or hopeful about some kind of love beyond yourself?
Child, that's a loaded question. That's a loaded question right there. So I have to start here because with our audience in mind, I want to have a clearness of just because you identify that you're strong and you're kind and you are the myriad of things that you are as a woman, because we are not a monolith. Nope. None of those things mean that you love yourself. Okay? So more women need to be taught that you cannot love another person truly until you love yourself. So while I thought I was loving my son, as dutiful as I was, it's hard to explain what it was because it was more obligatory. Once I've gotten to the point where I understand it, it was more obligatory. It was more living in a space of how I was raised and then improving on that and then making some decisions on where I believed he needed to be. Now, because I am in this different space, I identify that I could have taught him so much more had I loved myself. Because if I loved myself back then, I would have drawn boundaries. And I want the ladies to know that there's a huge difference between drawing a box and not allowing anyone in the box versus engaging with people and drawing some boundaries then, right? So I drew a box, I stayed in the box, don't come in my box, leave my box alone, right? And instead, what I should have been doing is engaging with people and understanding clearly what my own boundaries were, and then being able to communicate through those boundaries. I wasn't successful at that until I was in my late 30s, early 40s. So that was a lot to set up. What is love now? So love now for me is loving on myself, like really loving me and loving who I am and accepting me in my skin right now, today, in all the things and all the flaws, and forgiving myself. And, yeah, Tiffany, you messed up a couple of things. So what? You gonna mess up some more stuff before I transition to the next life. I am going to mess up some more things. And that is part of this journey. And that actually is the fun part of the journey. The fun part about the journey is loving on yourself and laughing at yourself and being like, damn, did I do that? That was dumb. I don't like it. And then you laugh at it, right? I have some mechanisms in place now to love on myself every day, without fail, right? I don't care if it's affirmations, if it's journaling, if it's just, I need to do a temperature check and just hug myself, touch myself in a way, Tiffany, hug yourself. Love yourself, think of all the good things about yourself. Talk to yourself nice, girl. Talk to yourself nice. Every time I think about that, I think about Tory Lanez, and he has a song called Talk to Me Nice, right? And I love that song because I really be having to tell myself, Tiffany, you got to love on yourself. You got to talk to yourself with adoration. And also I think about, how is it that I could talk about you, Birdie? I could talk about my son. I could talk about other people with all this love and cheerleading and have all this adoration. But when it comes time to talk about myself, it's crickets. pregnant pause on purpose, right? Because sometimes I didn't have the words, right? I know I'm great. I know I rah, rah, sis, boom, bye. I could cheer for myself, but it felt like bragging. But now I love myself so much, baby. If I don't brag on me, who will? And it's not bragging, it's a knowing. That's a totally different word. It's a knowing. I have a knowing of myself now that is unmatched, to the point where I had a clear understanding that I love myself so much now that I will not allow people in my space that shift my love for me. If you gonna step in my space and you gonna change how I love on me, you got to go, unless you're gonna help me love on me better. If you come in my space and you like, girl, I got some tools, some tips, that's why I'm here. I'm here because your book helped me learn how to love on myself more, right? It really helped me say, okay, so Tiffany, I'm going to talk through this piece because I just have to, right? So there was this part when I read the book and when we were understanding, who we are and what our dominance is. And as I'm reading it, I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like that I came up pussy dominant. I was like, that sounds like some freaky shit. That sounds like some shit I'm supposed to get paid for, with some boots and some whips and some feathers. I really thought that, right? But then, as I read more and as I talked to you and as you explained to me more, I realized that it really fell in love with my journey to love myself, right? So my journey to loving myself was, the boundary is, I don't want to love you, but I do want to feel good. I don't want the extra stuff that goes along with it, but I do want to spend some time with you because I do care for you. What I don't want is the parts that mean I have to trust you further than sex. If I have to trust you outside of that, that's a relationship. And that's not what I'm looking for, because I don't know how to manage that. I didn't know how to manage that. I didn't know how to manage that and still love me. Right? And first and foremost, I wanted to love myself. So being able to put a man in a box helped me love me. And so that's where I was. Now I'm in a different place now. And I don't mind, I'm sharing it. I'm in the 50 plus group, and that matters, right? Because if a younger woman is listening to this, it matters, because they have to know, I want them to get here sooner, right? You need to be here in your 20s, your early 30s, right? And if you're older, you have to understand that it's okay that you ain't there yet, because it's a journey, right? The point is, do you make it before you transition to whatever the other pieces of whatever dimension you're going to go to next, right? Did you navigate through this journey and get yourself to a place of loving on yourself, right? So that's where I was at with that. Now, do I desire love? Yes. And it took me a minute to get to that, because I spent a lot of time speaking into the universe that I probably was going to be by myself. And I said that because I didn't see me moving past my trust issues. I didn't see me moving past, you my sneaky link. And I recognized that wasn't fair to some of the men that I was engaging with, because they really desired more from me than that. But I was at least clear in letting them know I don't have that to give, right? Now I do. But the reason why I have it now is because I'm in such a good place with myself that it's not even this clarity moment. You ready? Clarity moment, ladies. I didn't distrust the men. I distrusted me, because I had made poor decisions in the past, and I was afraid that I was going to make those decisions again. So to keep myself out of that situation, I just didn't enter into relationships. You can't fuck it up if you don't do it. Okay? So now I'm in this place where I love me. And I love me in a way that I trust me. I know that I will make good decisions now because of the way I love me. I love me too much to not sit, watch, observe. Let's talk about it. Let's get to know each other. I'm not in no hurry. I'm also not in no hurry to get no penis. I'm good. I done had a lot of that in my life. And I done had a lot of really good ones. I don't need that now. Now what I need is a companion. I desire someone that I can spend my life with, but not about the sex pieces. I want that. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is that now this is more about the communication pieces. This is more about us growing old together. This is about us growing separately, but together. Right? This is not about me being a nurturer that feels like I got to help you on your journey. I was never supposed to do that. It was never my job to raise anybody. It was never my job to help another person journey through life. It was just my job to walk beside you while you journey through your part of life, while I journey through my part of life, right? And then together we talk about the journey, because at some point we're going to have some pit stops together. Baby, are you hungry? Let's stop at Buc-ee's. I'm from Texas. Let's stop at Buc-ee's, right? But my point is that I'm in a different place now. So because I love me, I have the love to give others. And yes, I'm ready. And I even want to get married. It's not a thing that I thought of when I was a younger person, but I do desire to get married and grow old with someone.
Can I just tell you how much, one, I love you. I love you so much. But you know how I always said, I love you and you, I am you and you are me. We're
Yes.
reflections of each other. You are my sister and I love you.
Mm-hmm.
I see so much of myself in your journey, and I know that so many other women will see themselves in your journey, no matter what age they are, whatever stage they're in, because we're all reflections of each other. So now I'm going to ask you if you can take the quiz. Are you ready to take the quiz?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to give you some time, and then you share with me your result.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to mute myself, and I'm going to let you just do the quiz. And then when you're ready, let me know.
Okay. And tell me, I want to go to the link.
MakeGoodPussyDecisions.com.
To the beach. But we're going to go here. There we go. Ah, girl, quit it.
Where are you at? Where you at?
I'm at Heart Dominant.
Oh, that means that you ready for love.
I'm not.
You're ready. You're ready to be loved. That means you want to feel more.
Child, I can't even do that. Who'd have thunk it?
Woo.
And that was on purpose. I really answered those questions from my heart this time.
Good. I mean, and the thing about it is, like, we love the way that we love in different stages in our life. And when you're able to turn around and approach things in a way that you know it didn't work for you before, that you're like, you know what? I want my life to be different now. It doesn't just change the way you work, you know, who you interact with, just that part. But of course, like how you said, how you love on yourself, the things you require change. And then the people that you surround yourself change. Your career aspects change. Why? Because you want across the board that balance that comes from loving yourself. Again, there was nothing wrong with pussy dominance in itself. But if it didn't give you the balance that you needed to be the Tiffany that's whole right now, then of course that part of you had to change.
Can I tell you what's so crazy, Birdie? Is I knew that was going to change, because I know that I have changed. I'm gonna share some. I'm sharing my result just so you can know, because I want to promote your book. So I'm sharing it, but I'm trying to, because it gave me an option to share it, and I'm trying to share it. But what I was trying to do is like tag your. Do you have a book coach Birdie page? Okay, I think I got it. Let me give you what I have. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think the important part about thinking with your kitty, is understanding that when you take the quiz, you are wherever you are at that point in your life as a woman, right? However it is that you're feeling. And what I have identified is you literally could navigate through all of them in your lifetime, because we feel different ways based on what we're going through at the time, based on what we need, right? So having, heart dominance. So for me, my experience is this. I took the quiz a year and a half ago, maybe even 2. And came back as pussy dominance, and feeling some kind of way about that, right? But there is no but. There's feeling some kind of way about it, and knowing before I even took the quiz that that's where I was going to come up. I didn't even have a clear understanding of what it was, but I just knew that that was what was going to come up. And like I said, I didn't necessarily feel good about that, because in my mind, I was thinking, it felt very masculine. It felt, even though the words are connected to a woman, it felt so not feminine.
That was the part that was the hardest to process about pussy dominance?
Yes.
Do you feel like it objectified you in a masculine way?
Yes. But that's because that's how I felt about myself. Because what I identified later was I could have chose to feel like I'm strong enough and secure enough in knowing what I want, and knowing that I want to be pleased. There's so many women that can come up that way, and that could be their dominance, and they could relish in it. They could be like, yes, because this is who I am. I love myself. I love my body. I love to feel good. I love to be pleased. But for me, it felt like a badge of shame for some reason. I don't know why, but I do know that that's how I felt. And then even once you explained more to me, and even after I read, the description, it still felt like I was void of the heart pieces. And I know I was, because I wasn't like, even if you just go back and listen to what I said about my story, it is very clear how I arrived at that, right? To know that now I'm in a much different place than I was in even 2 years ago. I've grown so much over the last year, and this is crazy, because I have to tell you that if COVID did nothing, so that this is forever documented, right? That if the pandemic did nothing at all for me, it forced me to be with me. I had very few distractions that moved me from a space of getting to know Tiffany. I got to know the pieces of Tiffany that I didn't love so much, and I got to know the pieces of Tiffany that I loved a lot. And what I learned was that Tiffany could have whatever it is that she wants in this life. First thing she has to do is she has to stop listening to the voice in her head that is telling her shit that's not really what it is. It's just that it's the real playing in my head based on the experiences that has told me that I can't have this, I can't have that, you're not worth this, you're not worth that. First, I had to shut that down and change that narrative. Like I said, I had to learn how to talk to myself nice. And when I started talking to myself nice, and I started realizing, Tiffany, you really can have anything you want. So if you want a loving relationship with a kind man who is funny, who adores you, who's going to treat you well, like, you can have that. But you got to be in that place for yourself, because you can't expect somebody to give you some shit you ain't even giving you. Right? So now for me to have heart dominance come back, first, I'm not shocked. Right? I'm not shocked, because I know that that's the place I'm in right now, right? I'm in a place where I want to go on dates. And I ain't never wanted to do that before. I was a catch you after 12 kind of person. You know what I mean? So now for me to have a really good understanding of, I do want to get to know someone. I do want to go out and I want to have dinner. I do want to go for a walk and hold hands. I do want to go on vacations together. I do want to have deep conversations about politics and, spirituality and love and life, and happiness. So I'm pleased with the heart dominance, that with the result. And I will say that getting the pussy dominance result a year or two ago really helped me assess who I am as a woman and whether or not that's the space I wanted to stay in. Now, don't get me wrong. What I also realize is that quiz can change according to the relationship that you're in. Right. So right now I don't happen to be in one. And so, but the result came according to what I desire. It came according to what I want to manifest in my life. Right. Also knowing that if I would have done that quiz based on some of the things that I'd be like, oh, okay, maybe we ain't moved too far off that mark. But it would also be because I would be doing it according to the males that have been in my life, and we're still operating on that old premise, right? I've not changed how I interact with them, but I am changing how I am going to interact with those going forward, right? So understanding that part, but I'm very happy about it. It made me smile. I'm not gonna lie to you. The first 2 years ago, I did not smile. Like I called you immediately. I was like, we need to talk about this because I don't understand. Like, I feel some kind of way.
You right? Was like, I don't like this. What is this?
Yeah, I don't. And I knew it was coming back that way, but I didn't like it. I was like, yeah, this like confirmation. And now I smiled about it because I believe that that's the place I wanted to be even then. But it was difficult to be there. And I'm learning how, and just not the loving on myself, right? So my heart dominance, I realize that this quiz is not just about the men that you choose to be with or the woman, whoever. This is about intimacy. And intimacy is not about sex, right? Intimacy is about how you process through your relationship and whether or not you take it deeper. And this could be how you even interact with your friends. I know that sounds crazy because you're like, well, what in the world does pussy dominance have to do with how I deal with my friends? Well, dealing with your friends from a perspective of you want to feel pleasure, meaning that if your friends want to go do something, you always the person picking the thing that makes you feel good, right? If you go hang out with your friends and you like to go to their house and you want to do that instead of going out to a club, but you're choosing that because that's what makes you feel good, right? It still has the pleasure aspect, right? And so pussy dominance for me was much more about immediate gratification than it was anything else, right? Having a clear understanding that I don't want to talk to you. I want to get to this point and then I'm going to walk away because I need to get whatever it is off of me. Like it might be stress, it might, whatever it is, but I need this immediate gratification that alcohol, drugs, none of those things are going to feel that. Exercise is not feeling it. This is that I'm going to burn off this steam and this is going to work. And then having an understanding of that happens in your other relationships. You hang out with your friends, your burning off steam might be venting.
Yeah.
Right. But it's still immediate gratification. And so now I don't think that I'm so much looking for an immediate physical gratification. I'm looking for a connection. And that's what the heart dominance is about for me, connecting with people on a deeper level.
Yeah. More than anything, and just like you back then, I never wanted to demonize the pussy verdict. And I only call it pussy verdict because that's how some people take it.
That's how I felt.
Yeah. So it's like, how do you want to feel right now in your life? Because this quiz has everything to do with your relationship with yourself in reference to any outside relationships. Like the questions could be, asking about him and touching on this type of thing. But ultimately, it's how you think and feel about those scenarios as it pertains to yourself. So if you're looking through things through this lens of, this is how I see things, and then all of a sudden you go to the eye doctor again and shit, your vision changed, then it's a different way. Like sometimes you didn't even know you needed glasses until you see the new ones. Like you put the new ones on and you like, wait a minute, why do I see things even more clear? And I thought I was okay.
Yeah.
So, like I said, even if the result was the same, it's still a different you. Right. That want to feel good. And it's just the way that you feel good, it manifests itself in a different way. So the fact that you have a heart dominance now, it means that you're ready to open up your heart more. But that's because of you doing the work that you needed to do for yourself to get from objectifying yourself and loving in a manual way versus being more emotional, because those are walls in you that needed to come down for you.
Yeah, I think a lot of us believe that loving someone else means that you have to give them more than what you give yourself. And I think that I had to have a clear understanding of that. No, my loving you is in addition to you loving yourself, right? It's an added bonus. I can't love you more than you love yourself, and I can't love you more than I love me. Right? So I have to love you in addition to, it's an added, you add it on, it's the sprinkles on the ice cream. It's not the ice cream, but it is the sprinkles, right? Now, me loving myself is the ice cream and the sprinkles and the cherries, all of that. But at the same time, we also have to grow up in some environments where people teach you that it's okay to love yourself. Like, this is like, I tell people all the time, I'm not knocking my upbringing, but I just don't remember having any conversations around loving myself. I don't remember anybody telling me, Tiffany, you have to love yourself. Yeah. Right. I know people told me that I got to care about myself in this way. You got to stay clean. You know what I'm saying? Don't let nobody treat you bad. Right. Be smart. So I got those things, but nobody said to me, Tiffany, you have to love yourself. Yeah. And nobody taught me how to do that. That's not a bad thing. I don't think my parents knew how to do it for themselves. I think my parents loved me more than they loved themselves. That's a thought. I don't know. I could be wrong. Yeah, I've never even asked.
Generational, because you loved your son more than you loved yourself.
I did. And then I got to a point where I was like, and really when my son got to a point where I felt like he wasn't loving himself, I literally had to say, did you teach him how to do that, Tiffany? And I know that I didn't, because I'm just now getting into loving me. And now I'm having those conversations with him. And I can see that in some ways he is loving on himself more. Because one of the things I know is that he is not out here looking for someone to validate him as a person. And I was doing that in my 20s. I was looking for validation. I was looking for someone to make me feel like I was pretty and sexy and desirable. And I was looking for all of that because I didn't feel any of that. And when you don't feel it, you're willing to take it. Like, that's kind of like being in a desert and you're thirsty or hungry and, you're by yourself. And then somebody comes along with a bottle of Dasani. You're like, yes, I'm drinking that, right? Drinking all of it. Yes, sir. May I have another? Right. And then when you get to a point where you identify that, when you love, like, you have an internal spring, right? And when you love on yourself from that place, it's like the best thing ever. So it's just being in a really different place. And now I can tell women that, or I could say, like, everything that I do now is all about heal yourself. Because if you heal yourself, everything else around you all falls in line. It all makes all kinds of sense. Your shit ain't going right with your kids, heal yourself. Stuff ain't going right in your relationship, heal yourself. Your business ain't going right, heal yourself. And I say that because as you heal yourself, you will see why things are not working. Like you literally get to see that. Like when I started loving on myself more, I started understanding why I was having problems in my business. Because I was accepting things in my business, which in the same way that I would accept things in a relationship, right? And I had toxic relationships with my clients, right? So even looking at the quiz from a perspective of a business owner, not necessarily just an intimate relationship, it helped me have a better understanding of who I was as a woman. So I thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that so much. Because more than anything, I was hoping that my stories and able to put myself in those categories would make it easier for someone to see themselves in me and be like, okay, it's not necessarily wrong, but it could definitely be better.
Yes.
Because and that's what I learned. Ever feel like what they're doing is necessarily wrong, but knowing that you can give yourself something better based off of what you know you deserve, not just on things that you're just used to doing, recycling different things about yourself.
I would like more women to have a clearer understanding of this. There's nothing wrong with it, but somebody told me this about five years ago, and it stuck with me. And what she said to me was, that which you resist will persist in your life.
Absolutely true.
And you are going to continue to bust your head wide open until you accept the fact that you have to change. And change is accepting what you can impact or control versus what you can't. And so many women stay in relationships because they want to fix it. But they're not fixing themselves. They're trying to fix the relationship or the person that they're in the relationship with. And you can't do that because you just can't. It's just, it doesn't work that way. It is not an external job. It is an internal job. And what you will find is once you fix yourself, you may not desire to be in the relationship because you've identified that once you put in all this work on yourself, you're not yoked anymore. Once I became a better me, I'm not yoked with some of the trash I was dealing with. I knew that then, but guess what? I learned that I could deal with people who were not yoked with me because how dare you have expectations of me? You ain't even yoked like I am. Like you ain't, I felt that way. I really did. I guess whether it's a right thing or a wrong thing, I'm being honest, right? And there was a part of me that felt a little elitist. Like I'm over here working on me. I know I'm good. No, we can't be together like that because you're not here. That wasn't good. I mean, I don't feel great about that, but it was a part of the journey. I had to get even into that part, right? And having a really good understanding of if you really want your life to change you.
That's right. If you want your life to change, you're the one that has to make that change because everything else falls into place once you fall into the place you want to be.
Sometimes when you want to accomplish something, you might not want to share it with other people because other people will speak some shit over you. Just like this, like even this, what we're doing now. I said, when you asked us to do it, I knew I wanted to do it. And then the internal dialogue in my head became negative for me because I was like, you know what, Tiffany, you're going to give too much, or maybe you don't know what to say. And then finally, when I talked to you about it, and when you said you were going to do this call, I felt good because I knew that if I did the call with you, I would give you exactly what you needed. But if you left it up to me and my own devices, I was sabotaging myself through the whole process for no reason, which thinking of it in that way, I know I'm not the only person that did that. I know that there are other women that did that. And then what happens is now Birdie can't move her project forward because she has all these women that had this negative narrative happening in their heads, right? So how do you get us out of that? You loved on us and you gave us options and tools, and you said, hey, let me do this, so that because you understood that, one, you needed it. How do you get it? Well, this is how you get it. You get it in participating in the process with us and moving yourself out of your ego, because ego could have clearly said, I gave instructions, I did a damn video, like what more do they need? Well, clearly we needed a lot more. But for you to be okay with that and to get us to this point, I think that because you're willing to do that, it's going to give you such a better product. Because now I am candid with you. I feel valued. I feel loved. I felt like you created a safe space. And the sad part was, on some real shit, I wasn't creating a safe space for myself with the negative narrative I had going on.
Yeah, but sometimes we don't know what the expectations are, because when expectations overrule the realistic piece of it, it makes the whole thing unrealistic.
Yeah.
You know, because I can't expect you to see the vision I have for us, because this actually is supposed to be therapeutic for you and for other women. Like, this is a 2-part project that, yes, it's with me, but it's supposed to actually help you, because to put how you feel about how you love into perspective is so important, because the things that we consciously do versus the things we subconsciously do have changed. And even though you look at things in a different way, you might not have the consciousness to see that your viewpoint on how you do things has actually changed, especially because you have a renewed perspective on how you've been doing the things you've been doing.
I don't know that I would have been as thoughtful and mindful in my words as I was when you asked the question and me sitting here with you, because I was intentional about my words and my thoughts and my feelings. Whereas when I was going to do it and when I did a piece of it by myself, I was not thoughtful. I was trying to get through it.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
And it wasn't even that I wanted to have the right answer or sound good. It felt painful and I was trudging through it. And I was like, let me just get through this question. I wasn't thoughtful. I need to get through this question. And I will tell you, I was a lot more negative when it was just me. But the reason why was, so even though what we talked about had some negative parts, I was able to exist in where Tiffany is now in the present because I was forcing myself to be present. When I was doing it by myself, I was forcing myself to go to the past. And because I was in the past, my conversation and my presence and my being took that on. And keep in mind, I was already being negative because I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna say the right thing. I don't know if I'm in. So it was a compilation, like the whole ball of wax for me. It was not comfortable. And I think that for something like this, one has to be comfortable. One has to be, you have to have a safe space. Like, I'm hoping the women that listen to these stories, I hope that they will find themselves in a relaxing spot for self-care. Don't have anything else to do. Like, just take some time for yourself so that you can sit with the material, so that you can listen to the content. And if you have to listen to it over and over again, to hear what is there for whatever the nugget is. And then I would encourage women to journal about what they hear. What did you hear that touched you? What did you hear that resonated with you? What did you hear that you are still not clear on? And write about that and ask yourself, how can you get clear? How can you right-side it? How can you how can you make your journey better going forward, which is very difficult for a lot of women. I'm hoping that a lot of women will listen to this and stop beating themselves up.
This encompasses my vision because I want this to be medicine.
Gotcha.
I want for women to see themselves, not just like I did in my book. Mm-hmm. Like I could put myself on paper. My job usually requires a degree of transparency. You know what I'm saying? It does, because I want you to understand that I've been there, I'm there, I'm growing. There's some things about me that I'm like, I still don't like about myself. Mm-hmm. But when they can see the facet in me that is you, because we are reflections of each other, holy shiitake mushrooms, it makes me a better me because you make me a better me.
Got you. Yes, I agree with that. I've spent most of my life searching for me's for me. And it's interesting because in the last 2 years, God is the universe and God has blessed me with more me's for me than what I could actually handle. And so what I had to decide was it was time for me to let go of the people that weren't meeting my expectations, because I prayed for these people. I prayed for you. I prayed for Renata. I prayed for John Nichols. Like, these are all people that I love. I prayed for Keshonda, you know, I prayed for these people in my life. And so what would be a travesty is I pray for them and then I don't give them the attentions that they deserve because I'm so busy pleasing other people. And I'm not identifying that. Like, I got a Keith in my life that is not meeting my expectations. You know, I have some other people in my life just not meeting my expectations. And at the end of the day, my question is, am I willing to lose those that support me in the way I desire to be supported, because I'm over here chasing something that is driven by my ego, because I don't like to be rejected. Like, there's some of us don't like to be rejected. So we will do what we need to do to be in favor of the person. And I don't want to do that anymore, because I feel like, why, when I have people that are telling me I'm enough?
Yeah. Well, who was saying that to you, that you are enough, because that you're palatable to them at this stage in your life versus the people who love you as you are,
as you evolve.
Exactly. That want to encourage you and see the vision in you to be the best you that you could possibly be.
Yes. I love it.
Thank you, Bernie. Too.
I appreciate it. Like, I
appreciate you too. Oh my God. Can I just tell you that I got to have I'm going to do a full unedited version, and then of course the edited version. But this is better than I ever even imagined it. And I'm grateful that it's you. That's my first one.
I understood that you were asking for a piece of me that at first I was afraid of. I was afraid of tapping into that piece of me for lots of reasons. Like I told you, I have fear of backsliding, right? It's almost like going back to revisit someone who you didn't like. Like I didn't like those versions of myself. Yeah. But I identify that those versions of myself had to exist for me to arrive here at this person. I understood that you were asking me, you didn't say it, but you were asking me to be vulnerable. Yeah. Because I can't help anybody if I can't come from a place of vulnerability or authenticity. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, that's not easy for a lot. It's easy for me. So it's easy for me. That doesn't make it less painful. It just means that I'm willing to accept the pain because it has a purpose. And my pain and my delivery was so that a young woman can get out of this sooner, or for wherever, I don't care. Like, I don't care where you are in the spectrum of age. It is to deliver you from the pieces of yourself that are damning you, the pieces of yourself that are making you feel like you're not enough, And I think that for someone to be vulnerable enough to share and say, I've been there, I've done that, I made it through it, and I'm better because of it. And to tell you, sis, just go through it. You can't go around it. You can't climb over it. You can't go under it. Like you can't go around it. Like you gotta go through it. Right. And every time you try to do the other things, every time you try to circumvent it, it's going to present itself in your life again. And then you're going to learn, and you maybe learned a little bit more from the last time. But if you want it to stop presenting itself, and if you want it to no longer be a hurdle, you got to conquer it. And the way to conquer things is to go through it, to feel it. It's going to hurt, or it may be joyful. Like, that pleasure and pain are, they are the same. Yeah. And I was willing to do that. One, because it was you, but two, there was a knowing that I had that one, it was time for me to shake it off.
Yeah.
Two, it was therapeutic. You didn't know it, but the timing was perfect. So.
Well, thank you so much for being here for me and being for everybody else. I love you so much. Thank you so much. And again, these are the lost tapes. Thinking with your pussy, the lost tapes. And it's not about me. It's about you. I love you and I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Lost Tapes, where it's all about you. Now, if you want to participate in The Lost Tapes, click the link in the bio for directions on how to participate. Hope to hear from you soon. Take care, y'all. Birdie Chesson, signing off.